Hey everyone, hope you're fine. Today is the third lecture of the series we are covering for the Holocaust, which is part of uh, the Cambridge A-level course 9489 World History. And it will be a very brief introduction to the topic today, that is the intentionalist approach, which is part of group of school of thoughts. Before we commence with the topic, it is important to understand that whenever we have a phenomena, it can be anything. In terms of its illustration, it's in terms of its approach, how different minds have seen it over time based on evidences, new research, and everything. That forms a school of thought. If you talk about the international relation, then you have primarily realism, liberalism, and then the strain goes into the new approach, which is the later version of them. So, this approach, once you are reading any of that and you're analyzing it, so basically you're stepping into the mind waves of certain individuals, intellects who have interpreted a part of history in certain manner. So towards Holocaust, we will come across primarily intentionalist approach, that is the intentionalist school of thought, how it sees the Holocaust and everything. Then we have structuralist, and later on we will move to the synthesis approach. And as I had mentioned in my introduction, this course is designed not towards where the bullet was fired, which is primarily the final solution, and which is for the most part of the Holocaust. It is known for the gas chambers, the way the Jews were exterminated, that barbaric act that continued unhindered from 1941 till 1945, but rather it goes to the theoretical interpretation of how things led to that event. And for that, my understanding is that these school of thoughts require your utmost attention in order to build your opinion, and in order to understand those who were behind the school of thought. So intentionalist, it's the word itself gives the meaning. It's toward the intention. That's how it is derived. So we start with the belief, which basically runs behind the school of thought, and broadly it is that it was something which was led by an insane mind like Adolf Hitler. He was the protagonist, the catalyst for the entire episode, which we term as the Holocaust, where the Jews, primarily along with other segments of the society in Germany at that time under Third Reich, they were discriminated initially, then exterminated, and just the counts are horrific. Uh, 6 million lives lost without anyone being spared owing to the gender, the age. It starts from unborn, newborns, goes up till the elderly. So the uh, entire thrust of this school of thought is that it was a one man's action which inspired in a negative manner the entire system. So the system was hijacked by a personality which was running this barbaric, uh, words totally fall short when you describe this thing. So he was the guy who charted the entire map and made the things revolve around him. Uh, and how it is supported. And then we have in picture you can see one of the most vocal and proponent supporter of this school of thought, Lucy Dowix, and these Lucy, along with other proponents, they look towards the evolution of Hitler as a person. One important evidence definitely is Mein Kampf, that is, if you translate it, it's My Struggle, is a memoir that he wrote in 1922. I won't call it a memoir because it was not a memory but rather a roadmap of what he perceives once he is in power. And there is a lot of context in my camps that reflect towards his intentions, how he viewed the Jews being a problem, and in the words of Lucy, uh, like 20 years before in 1922, when he wrote it, the seeds were sown, and the war, the Second World War, only became the catalyst and made it happen in secrecy because it was a war. The world was not open, hostilities were there, and they were able to carry out this episode of history, the genocide, unnoticed. Like, we will move further, then this context of unnoticed will get challenged as well, whether it was unnoticed or not. But primarily, the war provided the allies the support, the public opinion, which made way for Hitler to carry out his plans, which were perceived not by accident. It were in intention based. This thing, uh, this germ was in his mind that he has to purify the race, purify Germany, and the only way to do is it has to be the extermination of Jews, the vital question, and uh, and based on that, this entire thing revolved. Later on, the Nuremberg trials, that is after the war was concluded, and major actors of the Third Reich, they were put on trial, and the evidence which was unearthed, like as we will move forward, the minutes, uh, the minutes of one of the very significant meeting from 1941, which in a very coded manner signified what to be done with the Jews in Europe, not only in Germany but in Europe. And they also point to the fact that it was the Führer himself who was articulating the entire episode and taking it forward. And these evidences reaffirm the belief that it was the hatred that he produced, and then he was able to inspire in a negative manner and rally the entire masses behind him, that the misery upon Germany, which was in the aftermath of the First World War and Treaty of Versailles. I believe one of our lecture needs to be devoted to Treaty of Versailles as well, what proved as the catalyst for a person like Hitler to rise to power. Certain things away from the topic are that the German public itself never allowed such fanatic ideas to take power of that. He assumed power in 1933 out of incident. Uh, it wasn't like this, it was an overwhelming majority that he marched out. It was a series of episodes triggered by him in a very calculated manner that gave him an absolute power, mm, without getting significantly noticed. Something which is very important we will definitely touch upon. That how it was maneuvered. So we're staying with the intentionalist approach. Uh, this wasn't the system. This was a very popular belief in the post World War II scenario up till 1960, when he was seen as the person behind the entire thing. Not only that, there were popular theories of him having deceived everyone, survived, living in Argentina somewhere, like all the conspiracy theories which come with every incident. So that reaffirmed the belief that he is someone who is able, who was able to do something of this magnitude and then walk away, being the main person. So this remained very popular until it was challenged, not challenged, but it was further explored and gave rise to the structuralist school and later the synthesis schools that we will cover in the later period. And there is, to sum up, he remains one of the most important factor that contributed to this entire episode, that genocide which claimed the life of 6 million Jews, the Holocaust itself. It was revolving around him. He was the nucleus, and he made the conditions around him in a manner that ultimately supported him and his evil vision. And for that, the blame lies on him. It is it was very helpful. It remains helpful if you see it in the manner that by 1949, the Western powers were rebuilding Europe, like Americans rolled out the Marshall Plan, and West Germany, by all means, held the key for the revival of the Western influenced area of Europe, and for that, this theory holds a lot of ground. So that was the intentionalist approach, and as I mentioned, if you are viewing any segment of history, it is very important that first a deep analysis into a specific school of thought is required, then the counter argument, and based on that, a calculated judgment is made which helps you derive your ideas, which are really helpful once you are interpreting certain parts of history. And one, one other thing which is very important is that after you've gone through all school of thoughts for any event, like I'll give you an example. For the World War One, it will be the assassination of Franz Ferdinand. One school of thought sees it as a one-on event that led to such horrific incident. There will be another school of thought that will be blaming the upset of the balance of power in Europe, the rise of new powers challenging the old equilibrium. Then there will be the conspiracy theorist revolving around certain events which culminated into the World War. But the beauty is that once you're done with them, you will finally align yourself with one of the school of thought that will be closer to your interpretation, and then that school of thought will become your cover. And of course, it's very important to first analyze all of these streams so that you can make your sane choice out of that. So for today, we are done, and hopefully you will get benefit out of this thing, and then we will move on to other segments of our series to cover the entire Holocaust for the Cambridge course A-level world history, that is 9489. Look after yourself, and we will be back very soon to continue with our studies. Thank you very much.